Welcome to the D1 Diary. I'm Madison Donnelly.
And I'm Skyler Shellmeyer.
This podcast is to give current and former athletes at the collegiate or professional level the light to share their individual and personal stories about life during athletics and everything behind the scenes.
Although the landscape of college athletics is ever changing, we want to give these athletes the opportunity to discuss the real thoughts and effects of what happens inside the minds of collegiate athletes.
Welcome back to the D1 Diary. Today we're going to be discussing body image and eating habits during college athletics. Just to kick things off, when was the first time you were aware of body image?
Yeah, I think the first time I never really thought about body image when I was in high school. Like, I don't know why, but it never really occurred to me. I never had any disordered eating or any things like that when I was in high school, but it was almost as soon as I stepped into the college landscape, you were surrounded by a bunch of high-performing athletes, and you were also training at a different level. And I remember very early on when I was surrounded by all my teammates and all my friends in my class that images of, or even just conversations of body image and eating habits started to really come about in our relationship and like daily conversations almost. And I remember, this is, I don't know, kind of taking a turn fast, but just how often we would go to like the dining hall freshman year. My class like lived in Sergeant Dining Hall. We were always there, and we were there for like 4 hours at a time.
I think obviously our school had the athlete dining hall, which was like a buffet.
That too, yeah.
Everything you could want, but also having unlimited access to the dining halls every other hour, the regular student ones.
Yeah. You
were just surrounded by food. And I thought in college there was an emphasis on just eating a lot because obviously you're training more than you ever have before. Mm-hmm. So I felt like there was always conversations about needing to fuel more and fuel before practice and fuel during practice and fuel after practice.
Truth.
And I came in and, we had our snack bar.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat a ton of snacks in high school, and everyone before or after training was grabbing a protein bar or popcorn or whatever we had displayed. And I remember our nutritionist drilling, you need protein, this and that. We had scales you would weigh it on.
You had to weigh?
My freshman year we did.
What the hell?
For water loss during practice, during preseason. I think they ended up taking them away.
That's crazy.
We did have that, and I remember like being a little freshman, I grabbed a protein bar out of the fridge and was eating it, and I think one of my seniors was like, Madison, do you know what that is? And I was like, a granola bar? Like, it's refrigerated. Does it have probiotics in it? Like, I don't know. She was like, that's the 500 calorie bulking bar that they have for the football players and the wrestlers. And I was like, oh. So it was a weird dichotomy because they wanted you to be eating more, but bulking as a female athlete is still looked down upon.
Yeah.
Even though you should be gaining a certain amount of weight to be able to compete at that level. You will gain weight if you're training that much.
Yeah. I think that topic took me a while to overcome, but going back to like freshman year, I do remember the nutritionist coming in. It was like one of the first couple practices, and they talk about like building your plate and all the fueling you have to do, and they always touch on, okay, before practice you need to have carbs, during practice you need to have electrolytes and more carbs, and then after practice you need to fuel your body with protein. And I was like, holy shit, I've never ever thought about this. And also, to your point, never in my life have I had access to so much food whenever I wanted. In high school or whatever, when I was at home, I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to school, I don't eat till lunch. And then after lunch, I have my dinner and I go to practice and I go to sleep. So it was never just like
regimented.
Yeah.
Not every other hour you have access to food.
And then I literally remember like I would wake up and I would go to weights and I would probably have a granola bar and something else. And then I would go lift and then I would go straight to breakfast at our athletic dining hall, and I would stack my plate because I was like, oh my gosh, all this food looks so good. Like I had like no self-control for some reason.
See, I just felt like it was not enforced on us, but there was lots of conversations about you needing more just more fuel, more of this. So my preseason, I felt like I was super bloated. I had so many like protein bars that I didn't have access to at home, and I just felt really awful.
Yeah.
So I ended up being like, you know what, like this clearly isn't working. Even if my teammates are going to grab this protein bar after practice, I'm not going to, because it's not feeling good for me. So I really didn't use our fuel station very much after our freshman fall.
That's crazy. And that's actually a really good point, because it's almost like A, the accessibility thing, and B, you see everyone else around you doing it. I've never had so many snacks around me, like you said, and you see all your teammates like grabbing a Gatorade or grabbing a protein shake or grabbing chocolate milk or grabbing literally whatever else was there for us. And you're like, oh, well, that kind of sounds good right now, even though maybe it doesn't.
Or
but you
you're
just
not
grab
actually hungry, but in passing, everyone's just grabbing that on the way to class. So, oh, I'll just grab it because it's right in front of my face.
Totally. Yeah. And so like after weights and breakfast, I would go to class, and then I would go back to the dining hall, like a regular dining hall, and eat lunch. Again, like have a pretty nutritious meal. And then I would see all the sweets and the brownies and everything that was offered for you, and I would grab like one of everything, because I was like, oh my god, this looks so good, this is so awesome. Like I love sweets, and I couldn't resist myself. And then after that, I would go maybe back to practice, and then okay, now we're going out to eat before we have to go to study table. And then after study table, we're walking back to the dorms, and what do you know, Sergeant Hall is having their late night snack bar. So what do? The whole team goes in there and sits there for 2 hours eating French fries and pizza. Like, what? And then I'd have ice cream after. Like, no self-control. Yeah, and then no wonder I gained so much weight, but holy shit, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely overloaded with options right when you come into college. I think I had a little bit of a different experience, because I don't want to say I had disordered eating in high school, but I was definitely very aware of what I was eating.
Okay.
I think because playing soccer, speed is very important.
Yeah.
And I think there's a strong correlation, not actually, but a believed correlation between like being thin and being fast.
That is so true. And I do have a comment on that. I revoke my statement about not having any thoughts about food and what I was intaking, because I vividly remember my like junior, senior like running track. I was on this like weird fucking, not a diet, I wouldn't call it a diet, but I was like, eating very, very clean. And I was also not fueling my body like I should have been, because I would like, have lunch, and it would be like a thing of tuna and carrots and apples, like just like high protein. And then I would like, not eat before practice, but I would be starving at practice, but I was like performing really well. And I was like, ooh, like I look fit, I'm running fast. Oh, it must be because like, this is working.
So that hit me, I would say, early on in beginning of high school or even late middle school, because it's the idea that to be fast, you want to be light.
Yeah, yeah.
So not like crazy disordered eating, but I've tried every elimination type diet in the book to see if it would improve my performance. Not out of a body image way, but out of a performance way, because my sport was the most important thing to me. So I was vegan for a summer. I was vegetarian. I've been pescatarian. I cut out dairy. I've cut out gluten for months at a time.
Yeah, and this was all in high school, right?
It was all in high school. Wow. I did every experiment during high school just to see if it would make me a little bit faster, give me a little bit of an edge. Mm-hmm. And then during college, I think the opposite thing happened, where you're training so much that I realized I couldn't eat the way I was in high school.
Yeah.
I needed a certain amount of protein. If I wasn't getting in enough protein, I would actually feel lightheaded, because I knew I was like iron deficient. I think one thing I tried to stay away from in college was red meat for whatever reason. And then I think if I went without it for like 2 months, I would just like
feel like shit.
Iron deficient.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I need something, and I would like order a burger or a steak or something, just because I was feeling so weak.
Back to your comment on thin equals fast. Not true, I've learned now. But my incoming physical that I had is like before I got to campus, because I was actually around the area. So my athletic trainer had me come in, and they do your weight, they go through like this long questionnaire, and you had to answer the questionnaire before you came, right? And prior to this, I remember my dad mentioning to me, hey, I think you should try to lose some weight to increase your speed. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. Makes sense, I guess. And so on this form, one of the questions was like, I don't even know how it was phrased. It was like, what's the goal you have or something for your weight, or like, do you have any weight goals or like body goals? And I was like, lose 10 pounds to increase speed. And I remember my athletic trainer was in this physical with me, and she was like, I noticed this. You know, that's accurate, right? I was like, yeah, well, like,
that's just
but really,
that's what you hear though.
Yeah. So I think that's where it first started for me, where I was like, oh my God. I don't know what my thoughts were at the time, but I was like, this is weird. Why was I ever having those thoughts?
I think because it's just a common perception. I had a similar thing with the weight scan, the body image scan that we do every year.
The DEXA scan.
The DEXA,
Oh,
yes.
fuck that thing.
So I came in as a freshman.
Well, are you explaining the DEXA?
You can explain it.
All right. Well, how many times did you do it?
Every year.
Okay. So the DEXA scan is you have to take out any piercings. You can't have any metal, but you lay on this. Is it like a scanner?
It's like, imagine an MRI.
Yeah.
But you're not in a tube, and there's just kind of a scanner that goes over your body.
Yeah. And basically it somehow through the scan calculates the amount of body fat you have on you. And there's obviously other things that come out of it, but the main thing that stuck with me is body fat.
Yep.
And there's like a threshold or something that they want you to be in. We only ever had maybe 2 because it was that bad for my team.
Really?
Yeah. I've only ever done it maybe once, actually.
Oh, wow.
Myself. But I think my teammates, when we were younger, probably did it twice.
Because the team had really bad reactions.
Oh, horrible reactions. Like, horrible. And we had like pretty severe disordered eating on my team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So my team did it every year. I know some people struggled with it, but I do remember my freshman metrics. I came in and I missed the beep test, so our pacer test, by like 3 runs. And at the same time, because it's preseason, it's like the first week and you're doing all your testing and just like logistic stuff. I had my DEXA scan and I was 17% body fat. And I thought, well, if I was thinner, if I had ran a little bit more that summer, maybe I would have hit my pacer. But 17% body fat.
It's like nothing.
Probably the leanest I've ever been in my life. For context, under 19% body fat, you have trouble getting pregnant. And you are supposed to be in the 20 to 22% range as a student athlete. And I was at 17 and I thought that wasn't good enough.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
But clearly, sure, you have to be fit, and usually that does come with being more lean, but it's also with strengthening your muscles, which way more than fat. I feel like that's pretty common knowledge.
Yeah.
But it's still just this perception that if you are leaner, you're going to be faster.
Totally. I don't even remember what my results were because I kind of shut it out, blocked it out. I was like, this is not important to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember like getting that number back. I literally don't remember what it is, but I was like, wow, that's not great. I don't know how anyone can look at that and be like, that's so good. But maybe that's just me because I don't know. Like,
no, I think it definitely is not a great thing for many people, especially female athletes, to look at. I mean, there are plenty of people that go to the doctors and they won't even look at the scale because it'll like mess with their heads.
Yeah, that's me. I don't have a scale in my apartment right now.
And honestly, most athletes, even though you think they look small, their weight is probably higher than what you would guess just because of muscle mass. I've had so many people just mention in casual conversation, oh, you must be 120 pounds.
Yeah.
Guess what? I am not 120 pounds.
No. And that's like, I think it's a good segue because I associate a lot with my performance and like how I was doing with my weight because I would weigh myself quite frequently in high school, and coming in, I was 125 pounds. I was really fucking lean. I was really toned. At the time, I felt like I was fit. And then we just started lifting a shit ton. And like softball is different from soccer. We throw around the weight in the weight room. And at this point, I was also resisting the weight room. I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I hate the weight room. I hate how I feel bulky. I feel horrible. I don't get it. I would skip reps. I was not a very good weight room person my first probably 2 years. But I gained like 4 pant sizes after my first fall because of the dining hall and all the food access. And B, you coming in, you're literally not a woman.
No.
And when you start working out and like even if you've never lifted at that level before and then all of a sudden you start,
you're gonna gain weight.
You're gonna gain weight and you're also just becoming a woman. And it took me so long to realize that, but you're not in your like 16-year-old body anymore. This is natural. You're not going to be the same because you shouldn't be the same. It's not normal if you're the same. So it took me a while to finally realize that. But for the longest time, I was like, oh my fuck. I literally came in with size 4 pants and I weighed 125 pounds. And I left, I think, for winter break. We're having to buy new jeans in size 8 and I weighed 155. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, and I know softball had it worse lifting wise, but
Yeah.
even soccer in the off season, it's the most we ever lifted.
Yeah, you're so good.
Every winter, people would pack on pounds, and I remember hating my body in the winter.
Same.
I felt
my off season, I hated my body.
I felt so heavy. I felt so bulky, and I think the worst part is you have no control over it.
No.
Because you can't skip your workout, your team designated workout, and you're under contract. You also are probably like hurting, like you're sore as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have, I know for us, like we would lift in the morning and we would go straight to practice and do sprints. You were just completely wearing your body out. Yeah. But you can't say, oh, I feel like crap today, I don't want to do the workout.
Do it, yeah.
Or, oh, this is killing my confidence, I don't want to do the next 5 reps, I don't want to gain 5 pounds. It's not an option.
Not an option, no. Yeah, I had a very bad relationship with the weight room. Just did not want to be there at all. Hated it.
I think a lot of people did on my team as well.
You were saying like in the winter, you gained weight. Mine was the fall going into the winter. I started to notice this trend in me, and I didn't kind of pick up on it until probably my junior or senior year, but you pack on the weight because you're bulking. That's what you're supposed to be doing, right? Because you're preparing your body to then compete, because in season you're not lifting as much because you're competing and you're using your body more than normal, right? So I would notice this like ebb and flow and how I like appreciated my body and then hate my body. Always hated my body in the fall because I felt big as shit. I felt just like really large. I couldn't like move, it felt like. And then in season, kind of a two-parter. We weren't lifting as much, or we were doing like less weight. And for me, I've learned that is where I'm most optimal. And it took a couple years to kind of like learn what I liked. I now know like I like lifting less. Like I don't need to throw around 300 pounds on my back. There's no point, right?
Right.
And I'm a speed player. I just need to get my speed up. Top of that, I get really anxious before games. I would not eat. Not like intentionally, like, oh, I'm not going to eat. I just was not hungry. So I would have a couple bites of my sandwich or a couple bites of this bowl.
It's not working for your body.
No.
And I don't want this to be an anti-lifting episode because there are women that love lifting, especially like powerlifting. It works for them. They look amazing. They're jacked or just like super toned. Mm-hmm. And I was one of those people where lifting did not feel good on my body, and I didn't like the way my body looked with lifting. And now I'm a runner, so quite opposite of lifting. I'm just more of like an aerobic runner, and I feel good doing that, and I know how to fuel myself for that. And lifting just wasn't my thing.
You know what's so ironic about this? I hate the weight room. That's all I do. I don't run at all. Like when I go work out in the morning, I'm lifting weight. Granted, I'm not throwing it around or anything, but I get a lot of joy out of lifting now. I feel good. My body like feels the best when I'm lifting. So it's really funny how my career kind of like brought me back to that spot where I used to hate it and now I love it. That's all I do.
Well, it's almost a good thing.
Totally.
Get over that. But I think that does come with having the ability to create your own schedule and lift the way you want to, because there are plenty of different lifts and different muscles to work on. And we were just given a very specific program. For soccer, it was a lot of legs, and then it was a lot of arms, and not a lot of core, and just random stuff like that. So being able to pick your own workouts, I think, is just hugely important.
Definitely, 100%. What do you think some misconceptions are about body image and eating habits in athletics that you have noticed?
I would think from an outside viewpoint, if you are not an athlete, you think athletes love their bodies because they're super fit. I would say maybe we struggle even more than a regular person because we are constantly working out and it's tied to performance. And we are getting sometimes analyzed on specific metrics.
I agree. I honestly haven't even thought about it like that. But now that you say that, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I would have non-athlete friends tell me, oh, you look amazing. You're so fit. Like, your legs look so good.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I was feeling 100%.
Totally. I think the biggest thing for me was comparing my body or my teammates' bodies to the other sports that we were very close with. Everyone was always around each other. And I felt like even me and you being roommates, like you played soccer, high level of fitness, and you're running all the time. Us, we don't run for shit. We're lifting the weights, we're pushing the ball around. All about power and speed, right? Not endurance. So I would constantly compare even like lacrosse players, your teammates. Like I was like, damn, they're so thin and they're fit and they look great. Meanwhile, we're big as shit.
It's not how I ever viewed you or anyone in your class, but
thanks. but it's like your internal monologue is so not accurate to what other people are thinking, and also what other people are thinking. I don't know, you make it up in your head, but they're not even thinking about you at all.
And we've said this before, but I think there are just ideas about body types of certain sports, like preconceived notions that softball players are bulkier, hence the name of our dorm room.
Oh my god.
Our sophomore year, if you want to go into that.
I do know where this stemmed from. So Madison got a very good priority number, and we were really good roommates. So she brought along me and two other my teammates, and then she brought along her teammate. So there was 2 soccer players, 3 softball players, and this 5-person dorm room.
2 levels.
It was a penthouse. It was great. Like I love that place. It was called the Meat Castle, but it's not what you think it is, I promise. But we were in the fall game, and I remember one of my former teammates, she was older, but she was saying something, I don't know, it was like a cheer. We were just kind of like effing around in the dugout, but she was like, damn, we're like some meat castles, physical towers of like meat, like big and strong type thing. And we're like, oh my God, that is hilarious. Like, we're a meat castle. Like, that's fucking sick. Like, we tried to have this positive spin to it, but I think looking back on it, it was
like
kind of
trying to make it empowering.
Yeah. Like, we were almost like making it a joke because we were like insecure about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's still iconic and still hilarious, but looking back on it, like, it's kind of like, bruh, really? Like, what are you doing? Anyway, so yeah, we named this dorm of ours the Meat Castle, and the soccer players graciously took on the name. But we had this sign, we had this like intro music. Everyone on the campus knew of the Meat Castle, of course, because of the negative connotation, but promise it was not that at all. I promise.
Maybe a little bit, but not totally.
No.
Yeah, I feel like every house was like soccer house, lacrosse house, whatever, and then Meat Castle.
Yeah, like we were just trying to be different too. Like, oh man, we had a lot of good memories, but that was a year of COVID too. So we only got half a year, 3/4 of a year in that dorm. But
then you guys moved to off campus to a house, and then that was the Meat Mansion.
Which honestly, I think the Meat Mansion, when I became the Meat Mansion, like I didn't associate any like negative connotation to it at all. Like it was really just like, yeah, it was just a name. It was just like, haha, this is funny. People are gonna like remember us more. Like, haha, you know. But I don't know. Maybe our roommates like had negative connotations to it. I'm not sure, but we just went with it, and it was hilarious.
Honestly, I always just thought it was funny. I never had a problem with it, but
no, definitely for laughs, and I'm all about making people laugh. So,
but I agree with you. I would say in general, people would think that endurance sports are thinner: track and field, lacrosse, soccer, and then volleyball players and basketball players are taller, and just like there are like physical generalities. Is that a word?
It kind of felt like we were almost like the outcasts in compared to body image or how we physically looked, because we had no other sport to really compare to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because, I mean, lacrosse and soccer, you're constantly running. You guys kind of look the same. Basketball, volleyball, they're taller. It's another endurance sport. Like, you're leaner. But softball, like, football players, that's who we got compared to, pretty much. And it's sad.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't on that side of it,
yeah,
but I can imagine how that was just isolating for your team.
Yeah. And I mean, you know how our team was, I don't want to say outcasted, but we just had a lot of personality. We kind of just did our own thing, but I don't know if that even had a role in it. But I did want to say another misconception I finally learned later in my career was this idea of eating to perform. And I think we kind of touched on it earlier, but the whole like nutritionist coming in and telling you have to eat XYZ at XYZ time, right? I was like, this is fucking bullshit at first. But until I fully wrapped my head around why I was eating and when I was eating, I didn't accept my body and what I was doing. But as soon as I made that switch, I kind of like, I'm not eating to look good. I'm eating to perform because what I'm doing is hard and I need fuel to perform my best.
Right.
So I think there is still a balance to that. If you're gorging yourself, yeah, you're not going to feel great. But like if you're eating relatively healthy and foods that you want at the time, or you're just like listening to your body, that's when I kind of like came into myself more, was when I was like fully accepted. Like, okay, I'm eating to perform. I'm not eating to look a certain way.
Yeah, and I think the dietitians and the nutritionists have very good intentions, and usually this is how you make a plate. This is how much protein you should be getting. It's very good guidelines, but everyone is different.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you should listen to your body instead of information that's being regurgitated that's supposed to work for the majority of people. Like, I know I wasn't playing a lot, and I would go on these travel trips, and they would feed us
4 times a day.
Yeah, it was like
crazy.
A lunch and a post-lunch pregame, and eat a snack before the game, and then dinner. And also they would really want us to carb load. And I remember, I think it was my junior or senior year, we would go to Panera and we weren't allowed to order a salad.
Oh my gosh, same. Towards the end of my career, no salads. I was like, what the fuck,
And
bruh?
That's
all I want right now.
And yeah, so you would have to order a sandwich or pasta with like a baguette or chips, and then a bread bowl or some bullshit to have 2 or 3 carbs. And our nutritionist would travel with us, and I was like, girl, I'm not getting on the field, and it's 2 p.m. and this is my 3rd meal of the day. I don't want more food, and I certainly do not want 3 servings of bread.
Dude, totally. It's almost, I don't even know. We had that same thing where we couldn't get salads. And I think it's the thought of like someone telling you what you can and can't eat.
Yes, you don't have control over it.
You have no control over it. And you're almost like force fed, pretty much.
When it's shoved down your throat, I think it's a very bad thing.
Yeah.
And especially when this is like before you're supposed to go and perform.
Yeah.
Like, you know best what you should be eating before you perform. You have been performing, I assume, for at least 10 years before you are a college athlete.
And you did just fine.
You must have some sort of system down already. Sure, can they help tweak some things if it's, you're eating like Doritos pregame, or I don't know, ice cream? I was doing that at like 12 years old. Grew out of that one. But
Yeah, I think there's just a balance to it. It's a fine line when it comes to like nutritionists, because like they mean well, but at what point do you listen to your body and what do you need? Like what you need in that moment versus like, okay, you're about to play a game, eat 5 bowls of pasta and a piece of bread. Like, go, go, go. No salads. Like,
exactly.
It's just a hard balance because, like, they mean well for you and they're trying to prepare you for what you're going to do. But I feel like there's a lot of empowerment in
making your own choices.
Making your own choices. But, like, you know what you need best. Then there's the other side of it. Like, what if you're not eating enough? Because you deal with that side of disorder eating. Like, what if you don't eat at all?
Yeah, and we had plenty of team after game bus dinners where you might be given 3 options. And it's like turkey sandwich, ham sandwich, or you're like, vegetarian sandwich.
If I eat Jimmy John's one more time, I
Noodles
will
and
barf.
Company it was for us.
Or just Panera. I can't fucking stand Panera. I don't want to go Panera anymore. Gross. Disgusting.
Yeah, no, I couldn't eat at Noodles and Company for like 2 years.
Yeah.
After college.
What was another one? Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's I can't do anymore. Nope.
But it's hard too, and it's like, okay, the team has chosen this for dinner. It might be the last fucking thing you want to eat. And also, here are your 3 options, and you're getting home at 1 a.m., so this is your dinner.
Here's a good one for you. My freshman year, we kind of had this thing with my team, and the deal with the coaches is if we swept the weekend, so in softball, we either play 5 games in a weekend or 3 games in a weekend, and if we swept, we get ice cream. So, yay, ice cream, love this. But then the other side of it is like, you only get dessert when you win. The reward.
When you perform.
When you perform well, you get desserts. So then I found myself, this was like late in my freshman year, we would sneak out of the hotel sometimes, go get like ice cream and donuts. And I found myself, instead of just like getting one donut, it was like, oh my God, I can't do it. Now I want 15 donuts.
Kind of like binge eating because it was taken from you.
Exactly. So, and I hated that. Like, I literally remember being in Lincoln, Nebraska. I think we just played our first game of the series against Nebraska. And there was a group of us that snuck out and went to Hertz Donuts. And my roommate and I, we got 12 donuts. Now, these are like not regular donuts, they're huge like gourmet donuts.
Okay, yeah.
And I had like multiple of them like throughout the weekend. I was like, why? Why did I do that? I didn't need to do that, but I wanted to do it because I was like, haha, I'm eating dessert when you
told me I couldn't.
You told me I couldn't. I didn't perform.
And also,
but
like, you got to make your own choice.
Yeah.
And, like, go on and do that on your own versus the designated meal. It probably felt good to just, like, be able to choose your own thing.
Yeah, and then there's the other side of it is like, well, then I felt shitty after eating the donut. I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
So there was, I felt like I couldn't win.
And then you feel guilty.
Yep.
And then you think it's the donut.
Yep.
When really it's probably a choice thing.
Yeah. 100% was a choice thing. And
because
like,
if you had freely been allowed to eat donuts whenever.
Yeah.
This goes to eating disorder 101.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be triggering for people, but if you are going cold turkey and eliminating foods, you are so much more likely to overeat those foods.
I agree. And I didn't learn that till late either.
Yeah.
I didn't really restrict myself a lot, but kind of the same conversation is like when I found myself saying, I can't have any sweets. You know what I wanted to do and what I did do? I binged sweets. Instead of just like, incorporating balance.
Right.
Hey, after dinner, I want a piece of chocolate. Okay, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate.
But you'd be like, no.
But then I'm like, no, don't do it. And then 2 days later, I'm like eating like 20 chocolates. Like, just let myself have one and I'm fine.
Right.
And like now I do
Way
that.
better.
Now I don't try to cut that stuff out because like if I just have one, I'm not going to have 45 of them when I don't want 45 of them. So good point. Very good point.
And how do you think societal standards of beauty and athletic intersect and how this has, affected athletes' perceptions of their bodies?
Yeah, I think this was an interesting one considering the day and age of like social media. And
this is changing a lot with NIL.
That too. I didn't even think about that.
But like the whole Livy Dune or Dunn, I don't know which one it is.
I don't even know who that is. Who is that? No, who is that?
This blonde gymnastics girl at LSU that has like all these brand deals with Biore, and
Got you.
she's got like called out for like photoshopping her waist to be even smaller.
Interesting.
And so,
But like, why did she do that?
because she's social media and
Yeah.
in the spotlight.
Totally.
And also gymnasts, the perception is you're supposed to be really tiny. And
Yeah.
so I think that's one way that it might be playing more into it today than it was even 5 years ago when we were freshmen.
I agree. But yeah, so my first 2 years, I don't remember. I was very good though. I never really followed like influencers or like Kim Kardashian. I was very anti that. I didn't pay attention to that at all, so it didn't bother me. But I can imagine now with social media like increasing speed and NIL stepping in, what are these younger high school athletes going to do when they get to college?
Or what if they're thinking, I'm only going to get an NIL deal if I look a certain way?
Yeah, totally. Like, do you look the part? Oh, no?
Then
well,
I'm not going to get money.
totally. Yeah,
Like, that
yeah.
part
Like, that's a
sucks.
very good point.
I will say another body image thing that we haven't talked about yet, I think, is how your body changes when you're injured, how that affects people, because obviously you're kind of at rock bottom when you're injured because you can't play your sport, but also because you're not working out. A lot of times that does change your body. I know for me with the whole 17-month stretch, I lost like 10 pounds, but not in a good way. This was me losing 10 pounds of muscle, and I didn't like the way I looked. And there was nothing I could do about it because I couldn't run, I couldn't lift, I was on crutches, I was non-weight bearing, I was limping around campus, and everything in between.
Yeah.
But when you do have a horrific injury, I think part of you is afraid, one, it's going to affect your performance, like how do I get back to sport, but also like, is my body changing and is this going to affect my performance?
Yeah, I kind of had a similar thing. I had my first surgery after my freshman year. So it was like freshman summer going to sophomore year. But I was like still weight bearing. So I literally walked out of surgery because I was in a hip brace. But The thing I've learned about myself is it was kind of almost like a restriction thing. Like I remember thinking after surgery, I was like, okay, like I'm going to not eat as much because I'm not doing as much. I'm not being as active. So that's how I'm going to like counterbalance the immobility is like, I'm not going to eat as much.
Yeah.
You know what I did more of?
Probably I ate more because you're restricting.
Yeah, I ate more.
And you can't 180 like that. It's not like the day of your final game, like next day you're gonna cut 800 calories because you're no longer playing your sport. You gotta slowly wean yourself off of it.
I think for me it was just like listening more closely to my body. I noticed a really big difference when I got done. I mean, I could finish like a good decent sized plate of food and like still feel like perfect, like not too full but just like perfect because I was performing every day. And then like right after I got done, I was probably still eating like maybe the same, but like I was trying to just be very intuitive to how I felt. And once I was like satisfied or just like full, not even full, but like just satisfied, I was like, okay, I'm done.
I think it's also easier to listen to your body when you're not running from class to practice to social event and like cramming food down in 10 minutes because this is all I have time to eat. And I'm just trying to like put things in my mouth and like run somewhere else. So when you do get more of a normal schedule,
it's more autonomy. It's easier to balance with more autonomy for sure. Do you have any really specific, experiences or anecdotes you'd like to share about body image struggles in athletics?
I don't think I struggled super bad in college. I feel like I just kind of like submitted to what all of college athletics had to offer. Like, I have to go to class. I have to eat this meal or I'm not going to perform at practice. I have to go to practice. Now I have to go back to class. Like, because the autonomy is literally ripped from you, all of my little, I'm going to go vegetarian or I'm going to cut out this kind of went out the window because you don't even have time really to make those modifications or what I'm going to put in my little note that I'm not eating dairy this month on the team meal plan. It's just kind of an inconvenience. So I just kind of
just rode the wave.
I just started eating a normal variety of things and I didn't make many modifications.
I don't think I ever made modifications for what I can remember, like myself personally, but I do remember my team. There was a handful of girls that really struggled with disordered eating, high level like body image issues, and just full out like, eating disorders. Like you said, it's hard because of the lack of autonomy. For some people, what I learned from my teammates, that's their area of control. There's so many things, I'm gonna say related to softball, but like you can't control the umpires. You can't control the weather. You can't control what the pitcher's gonna throw. You literally have no control over anything besides your attitude and effort. And that can be very, very jarring for people and cause a lot of anxiety. So what people rely on is their control of their diet and control of like what I can put in my body and what I can get rid of in my body. Yeah. So I know that was a big thing for a couple of my teammates, and
coping mechanism.
100%. And so after knowing about many of my teammates like eating disorders or like disordered eating, I remember it was senior year in the fall and we were about to go lift for the day, and our nutritionist comes to speak to us before lift, and she starts how to build your plate and like you need your vitamins and you need all of your stuff, right? So the next step she takes is she talks about plate size and she correlates it to people who play and people who don't play.
Oh no.
So quote unquote, she said, if you are playing more or you're a starter, your plate should look like this. You should have more food on your plate. If you're a non-starter or you don't play as much, your plate should look like this, smaller plate. And me knowing, like being like a leader on the team, I immediately knew, I was like, oh, fuck. And mind you, we were trying to like not have this like divide of like non-starters, starters.
Oh, yeah, because you want to blend the team as much as possible.
Yeah, that's like this fucking second week.
We can look around the dinner table and figure out who's playing and who's not.
Well, then I know like there's a bunch of girls on my team, starters and non-starters, who struggle with this disordered eating or eating disorders. And
I think there's just a lack of awareness because yes, you can say if you're working out more, you should be eating more, and that's probably correct. But it's such a sensitive topic.
It's so sensitive. It's a bold statement to make to a bunch of young women who are
It's
just
not
going through it.
100% correct, so it shouldn't be made that way.
So I immediately remember everyone at that meeting was checked out directly after. But meeting wraps up, we go in the weight room, and I was like, okay, everyone come here. And I was like, listen, y'all, I know what she has said, and it may carry a lot of weight with people, but we need to shut it down right now. If you eat when you need to eat, you eat what you want to eat, you listen to your body, like, we're not taking that. Well, starter or non-starter, you know? Like,
good for you for saying that and recognizing that in the moment. I'm just remembering, and I just pulled it up, but I did a article in 2020 on why athletes are under eating.
Oh.
And this is 2020 data, but Division I sports cause 49.2% of female athletes to enter the subclinical eating disorder range. That was a study by the Sport Journal.
wow.
I don't know if that's gone up or down since 2020,
Yeah.
but I think, that just goes to show half of Division I female athletes struggle. So when half the room struggles, you should not be making plate references.
Oh, totally. And that's why I'm saying, like, being a nutritionist in college athletics, and especially with women, I can only imagine how hard of a job that is. Like, they mean the best, and I don't doubt I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're just trying to do their job. They're trying to do their job how they're being told to do their job. But it's like, how can you relay this information in a better way that, like, is resonating with the group of people you're talking to?
Right.
It is a hard balance. Another time with the lovely nutritionist, I think we had like 2 or 3 in my time, but I remember, I think it was my sophomore year, and we had like a team meeting with either our mental performance person or like our team therapist, or even a nutritionist. I can't remember exactly, but around this time period of my sophomore year, we kind of took on the hashtag Big 10 Big Girls. Because, again, going back to Meat Castle, like, we lift a lot of weights, we're big and bulky, we look like football players. Like, we were kind of like trying to, like, make a joke of our insecurities and, like, yeah, we're big and strong, like Big 10 Big Girls.
How bitches is supposed to be empowering now.
Yeah, and it's just not really. Like, and that's something I learned early in that year, and I shut it down very quickly after that. And we eventually talked about, like, self-respect and all that. But anyways, I remember this one meeting we had with the whole team, and I think something that often gets talked about in locker rooms is, hey, do I look fat in this? Hey, do I look skinny right now?
Especially when you're going out every week.
Oh my God.
Dressing up.
Yeah, you're like going out in your skimpy ass clothes, wearing your crop tops and your booty shorts, and you're like, hey girl, like, how do I look? And, I think often you want to say, like, oh my God, no, you don't look fat at all. You look great.
Yeah.
But it's like that comment is like continuing this cycle of like body image.
If you are modifying your diet, and then on that random Friday night your teammate says you look amazing, you're like, something's working.
Like, I look hot as shit right now. Meanwhile, you're like starving yourself, like,
and feel terrible.
Yeah. So in this meeting, we bring up this topic basically about how, Big 10 Big Girls, and, the topics of like skinny and fat looking in your uniform and your going out clothes or whatever. And this comment actually made our whole team die laughing. So the advice that was provided was this scenario. So you can be teammate A,
okay,
and you're going to ask me, how do I look in this?
How do I look in this?
You have a great personality.
What?
Yeah. That was...
You're supposed to avoid the topic?
Basically is what she was suggesting. Like, you're supposed to not comment on skinny or fat. You're supposed to, like, comment on actual traits.
Okay, but
like,
they're gonna be like, okay, thank you, but how do I look in this?
Yeah, like, hey, does this make me look fat? Haha, you have a great personality. You're so funny.
Wow, that would really work on no one.
Like, right? And so it's like, again, like, how do you tackle that conversation? I have no solution to that.
I will say, so this does go back to high school, and this is horrible, but me and my best friend, probably around the beginning of high school, we all the time would be like, okay, evaluate me.
Oh.
And we would give like very hard criticism
Oh my God. Okay.
Really hard criticism on the way we looked.
Wow.
We're talking like
just like going and hanging out with friends at school, or just like
we're talking like it's just like me and her, we like went to the gym, or we're like up north on a vacation, or just like hanging out because we saw each other a lot, and it would be like little check-ins, like we'd like strip naked, and we'd be like, do you notice a difference?
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
And me and her so close. And I don't know that every girl has a friend that is that close that they're going to strip butt naked and be like, evaluate me. Like, did I change in the last month? But by girls every Friday night, Saturday night being like, do I look good in this?
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing.
It's the same concept.
Oh,
They're
totally.
Like, have people noticed a difference?
I mean, even the vulnerability that can come with changing in the locker room. Like, me personally, I didn't give a fuck. I was butt-ass naked. Isn't it buck-ass naked? I don't know. Whatever. I was naked the first day of practice my freshman year, and I was running around that shit. Like, I did not give a fuck. I never gave a fuck.
Most people are. If you're not, like, aware with college athletic locker rooms, like, everyone is stripping naked. It's just, like, you gotta... I was mortified as a freshman. I was like, there's no dividers. No.
I feel like most freshmen, they come in and they're like they have their towels over them and they change. Like, you try to like squeeze on your bra and you're like soaking wet.
Oh my God, I have a horror story. We had our first away game and they had like the showers from like She's the Man where it's like the 8 spigots.
Oh my, we had, okay. Yeah.
And so you have to just like strip naked and like get in the shower with like 7 other girls.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, everyone else is naked. Like, I can be naked too. I can do this. I was like, I really want my towel, but I don't want to be the weird one. So I get in the line, and I think one of the like seniors as like a huge personality is like, holy shit, Donley has huge tits.
Fuck.
Like, oh, I hate being naked in this room right now. Like, no. Everyone's heads turn.
No.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this part of college athletics.
Yeah.
I think that is an interesting point that, like, you are also, like, naked in front of your whole team.
Yeah.
A lot.
Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen, like, all my teammates' butts.
Yes.
Like, bare butts. Just everything. But it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's like a bonding moment. I don't know how to explain it, but... Yeah, I was definitely running around, like literally sprinting on the locker and be like, ha, 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 ha. Oh, yeah. Like, I was like a comedian. I was like, ha, look at me, I'm naked.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people like that. Or like, we would even, speaking off topic, but we would like have shower parties where like,
oh my God.
It's like, it's like 8 girls in the shower and someone picks a song and we're all singing.
There's dancing. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's funny though.
No, it is funny, but like, it does go back to, like, your body is on full display.
You're just out there.
And so maybe that goes into a lot of the body image around college as an athlete. Because you're looking at your body, but also all your teammates are on a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, no. And it's not like you, like, stare at, there's obviously like, locker room etiquette, but, like, you, like, compare yourself. 100%. Right. 100%. Like... I don't have fucking boobs, but I know you have boobs. I'm like, damn, Madison has big boobs. Like, I don't have big boobs. What the fuck? Like, it's a constant cycle.
That, like, girl, like, beat you in a race.
Yeah.
Or something. You're like, should I look like that?
Yeah, totally. 100%. Shit, man. How do we get to talking about naked people in the locker room?
Part of college athletics.
Funny.
All right, we need to get back to a more educational topic.
How do you think teammates or coaches can maybe create a supportive environment for athletes to discuss body image or address concerns within that landscape?
I think the 1 hour little presentation you have during preseason doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a hard thing. Obviously, you have so many demands as a student athlete to like make time for. And they always say you have resources. You can find that athletic therapist, or you can go to your dietitian, you can go to your nutritionist. But I think that's very daunting for someone, especially when they're struggling, because you'd have to admit you have a problem and go. Mm-hmm. So I think if there was like a way to weave in more supportive conversations around it, or definitely don't hammer this is what a plate should look like, or you should be eating more. It's so delicate that I don't know totally what they can do to do better, especially if you have male coaches talking to a female team, because it's very different.
I feel like Division I athletics is all about like, we have all these resources, use the resources. Like, oh my God, it's money, like money, money. I almost think they're just like not helpful. They mean to be helpful, but the idea of like, a nutritionist, why isn't the conversation just like, dude, listen to your body, you're hungry, eat. You're not hungry? don't eat.
I think maybe
I don't know.
losing touch with like the human reality of it.
Agreed. Like, it's all about like optimizing your performance, but like, you're a person.
Right. Like, I remember, and this has nothing to do with nutrition, I was a freshman and my academic performance wasn't going very well my second quarter because there was this thing called the Medill F.
Oh my God.
It's very famous.
I heard about this so many times. Medill F.
It's very famous. Everyone in the journalism school is very afraid of it. And if you make one error, you get an F on the assignment. I had 4 Medill Fs in a row. And I like was on the verge of tears in my academic advisor's office, and she was like, Madison, you just got picked to go to the Middle East. Who cares? And it was a very humanizing moment for me.
You have Michelle?
Yeah, I did.
Shout out Michelle. Love you, girl.
Because I was like, okay, like this is my academic advisor who's supposed to solely care about my athletics or my academics, and she only cares about like my happiness as a person in this moment. And maybe if they took that approach to nutrition instead of being like, well, you should be eating this plate right here, but if they took the human approach and was like, how do you feel? What have you been eating that makes you feel bad? Like, what's making you eat that way? Mm-hmm. Then maybe it would be different.
Yeah. I do think that the last nutritionist we had in my 5th year, she did a very good job of that. Like, she was super awesome. Oh, what was her name? God. As awesome as she is, I'm not remembering her name, but she kind of took that approach too. She was like, listen, like, these are recommendations. Use them as recommendations. We're not telling you how to live your life and how to eat and how to drink and how to do it, whatever, but do what you need to do. And I'm like, yeah.
Here's what the book says, but
yeah,
no one's by the book, so take it with a grain
of
salt.
Okay, I'm providing you with information. Use it or don't. No judgment. And I was like, fuck yeah, that's great. But kind of going backwards, but my freshman year, so again, freshman 15 coming in, like, I'm becoming more of a woman. I'm lifting more. I physically do look different because I am different.
And everyone thinks the freshman 15 is bad, and thinks that that's the whole problem.
Yeah, totally.
Because
I even talk about it like it's bad now, but it's not.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's literally life.
Totally. It is life. And there was an incident. I don't even want to call it an incident. It's not an incident. It's just something that happened, and I think it was a learning curve for everyone involved. And I want to clarify that I love this person with all my heart, and I would literally die for them, and they've done so much for me, so I don't mean any like negative for this, but it was more a learning curve for myself and this person. Anyways, so we're in January, and we're gearing up for our first season of competition, and I was hurt, mind you. I was injured. I had a torn hip labrum.
Okay.
I recently have experienced the weight room, gaining weight, right? Just come off winter break, and my coach comes over to me at practice, and we're talking about base running. And for those of you who don't know me, but I'm a very fast player. My game is speed. I get on base, and I use my speed to do so. And I steal bases. So my speed is my whole entire game, basically my life. And she comes up to me and she's like, hey, how do you think you're doing speed-wise? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean?
You're the one watching.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm doing fine. I think I'm great. She's like, do you think you've lost a step? I'm like, no. And if anything, it's because I'm hurt.
Right.
I'm really injured. Anyways, so she proceeds to tell me this story of a girl, or like early in her career or something. She was, I guess, drinking a lot of chocolate milk, and because she was drinking a lot of chocolate milk, she was gaining a lot of weight. And mind you, I like had a couple chocolate milks here and there. I don't regularly indulge in chocolate milk, but even if I did, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And she kind of basically insinuated I needed to not drink chocolate milk anymore because it was making me gain weight. And I was like, so you think I'm slow because I'm gaining weight and
drinking chocolate milk.
And I'm drinking chocolate milk. Thus going back to the original conversation of, oh, I have to be thin and lighter to be faster.
Now we're eliminating chocolate milk.
And now I'm not drinking chocolate milk. So you know what happens when every time I pass by the chocolate milk?
That's all you want.
That's all I want. It's
Even
just a cycle.
You weren't crazy and drinking chocolate milk for every meal or every day even.
Yeah. And again, want to clarify, this person and I have talked about this. We have moved on from this. I am fully recovered from my chocolate milk incident. Yeah. But I think it just goes to show, like, coaches do have a big impact on your perceptions of food and performance and what you're doing with that information. And it's like, take the human approach.
Right.
Take the human approach. Like, you want chocolate milk? Drink your chocolate milk, girl.
Yeah.
I was injured, you know? Like,
yeah. Maybe say, I do think you've lost a step, but you will obviously get back there when you're playing more consistently.
Totally.
Don't say, let's lose the chocolate milk. But yeah, things like that happen. So just be prepared and, you know, be very self-aware if you're going to be a college athlete. And talking about nutrition, obviously you don't have to follow the book black and white. I think the biggest thing, I know we've mentioned freshman 15 a lot. Does it come from food if, you know, this is the first time you have all those options? It can, but I think honestly it usually comes from alcohol.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I know we did an alcohol episode, but I don't want to say I drank so much in college, but you were drinking probably more consistently during those 4 years because of all of the events going on than you will outside of college. Obviously, for some people that's not the case, but I definitely feel so much healthier now that I'm not drinking as much.
Yeah. I noticed a big thing. So it is like a natural occurrence in your body that, you know, when you do drink a lot of alcohol, you're going to gain weight. So like, that's part of the freshman year overload of food. You're partying a lot.
And you're going to eat more because
you're
sobering up and
exactly.
et cetera.
Exactly. So it took some of my fifth year. My fifth year, I was over the party scene. I was like, I am done with this shit. So I wasn't drinking as much. And that fall and even that season was the best my body has ever felt. I hate to say like I liked the way I looked. I think that honestly, internally, like that was a part of it. But more so was the idea of I liked the way I felt.
Right.
Which only helped me like visualize my body. I liked the way I looked because I liked the way I felt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and from a performance perspective, you know, I think when I became an upperclassman, as like a junior, senior, I was drinking a lot less in the fall, and I felt so much better as a player.
Totally.
And I thought just my fitness overall was so much better, my recovery, when I wasn't drinking every weekend, every other weekend, so be it.
And you're getting good sleep.
Yep.
Like actual sleep. But I think overall, you gotta find out what works best for you. I'm still figuring out now. It's a whole new ballgame now that now that we're done. I'm still learning things, but I was very proud of myself for the progress I made from, you know, freshman year and getting 12 donuts when I don't need 12 donuts and didn't want 12 donuts to figuring out what made me feel the best. Well, what made me feel the best was, yep, I'm going to do every single rep in the weight room, but I'm not going to lift 300 pounds. I'm going to do like 250, you know, just honestly listening to your body.
It's a lot of trial and error, but
Yeah.
if you learn the mindset to listen to your body and trust yourself early on, I think you're going to have a lot better time than learning from all these other outside sources and getting validated by things or people that don't matter. Because they're not you, they're not in your body. They don't feel how you feel when you get up in the morning or you're doing sprints out on the field. So
yeah, I think my last piece of advice, if you are a person who follows people on Instagram, influencers, or you're binging TikTok and all you see is like workout videos and all this stuff, delete it. Delete it. I deleted TikTok. I don't do influencers on Instagram. And I know 100% that has made me feel a lot better.
comparison is the killer of joy or thief of joy. I don't know what the quote is.
Yeah.
But if you are struggling, definitely just deleting that and doing your own thing is like a personal reset.
Yep. Put the blinders on, listen to your body.
And just be you, do you.
Yeah, totally. Thank you very much for listening.
Email us, DM us, reach out to us, and we look forward to next week. But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of the socials, and just follow along with our story. Okay. Bye.